Hello and welcome to this video. What I want to talk to you about in this one is my personal experience from doing the Wim Hof method for the past 6 months or so. I committed to doing it for just 12 weeks in the beginning, but I actually ended up loving it so much that I've continued this entire time. So in this video, I'll be sharing my experience with you. What is it? What did I learn from it? And what are some of the things I wish I would have known when I first started? So let's get into it. So what is the Wim Hof method? Well, it's a method of cold exposure, breathing, and meditation invented by, surprise, surprise, Wim Hof, who is basically this badass dude who does all kinds of crazy things. He has records for diving under ice water, for climbing Mount Everest only wearing underwear basically, and he does a lot of things that has gained him recognition. So if anyone was to invent a breathing and cold exposure method, it might be this guy. Some of the known benefits that have been proven by science to doing the method are things like stress reduction, faster recovery after exercising, just a general feeling of calmness, so reducing anxiety and stress. You also have things like better sleep, better mental clarity, and better focus in general. So the way that I personally got into the Wim Hof method is because I had a goal of becoming more present. So I know it's a little counterintuitive because, if you have a goal of becoming more present, then that's some point in the future, but being present is something you do now. But in either case, it helped me to get started with the method, because I've been trying many things over the years to become more present, namely meditation, but I always found it difficult to stick with. So I would do maybe a week straight or a month straight, but inevitably I would fall off the wagon and I would stop meditating. So I thought, why don't I try something where you actually have to do something? So with Wim Hof breathing, you're actually doing something. You have to. There's something to focus on rather than just your inner thoughts or some sensation in your body. You're actually doing something physically, which I believe would help me. So I decided to give it a try. So I had actually already heard about Wim Hof more than 10 years ago. I think I was like 15 watching something on Discovery Channel, and there was a show about this guy who was gonna run a marathon or a half marathon in like minus 20 degrees Celsius, and I was just watching this and I was like, this guy's kind of crazy. He's like some kind of superhuman. And I actually remember a little clip of him like jogging on the spot inside a huge freezer in preparation. So that's how I first heard about him. So before I started the method, I was actually thinking about it for about 3 or 4 weeks before I made the commitment, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do this for the next 12 weeks, and I actually ended up doing it more than 6 months later, and I believe I'll continue doing it. I was already doing cold showers every day for more than 3 years, so this part was not really a challenge to me, but the breathing exercises where I personally felt a lot of the benefits. Of course, the cold showers are great too. I still do them when I can. Right now I'm in Mexico, so the water does not really get cold, but I highly recommend the cold showers too. Okay, so now I want to talk a bit about my experiences with the method. So immediately after doing it the first time, it was a very, very intense experience for me. I remember my whole body was just tingling. Afterwards, I just started to laugh randomly. I just felt really, really good. Like it was like a big release somehow, a big relief of my chest somehow, and I just felt really, really good. It was quite amazing. For the whole first week, I just felt like I was flying. Like it was a completely different state of mind. Not that I was feeling bad before, I was just feeling normal. I was feeling good. I was like regular. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but now I was just feeling so good. Like I was basically constantly happy, which was a very interesting experience. I was like, oh, is this what life is supposed to be? So that first week was something really, really changed, and I I was really into it. I started learning more about breath, and I watched like every interview I could find with him, and I just got really into it, and I did the method maybe twice a day or something like that, and it was all I would talk about with people. So that first week was really something quite intense for me personally. So the breathing can really be quite an intense experience, both while you're doing the breathing rounds and while you're doing the breath holds. So you might experience all kinds of different sensations. So you can start, it can tingle in your fingers, in your whole body actually, and you might start twitching and having involuntary movements. I definitely experienced that. You might start just laughing randomly. That happened to me as well, and even crying. I remember one particular day, I had quite an emotional experience during the evening, the night before I'd gone to sleep, and I had not quite processed it. And then I did the method in the morning, and then like all these emotions just like got released somehow, and I just cried for like half an hour, which was quite interesting. So I think it helped me just get in touch with whatever was going on in my body. So it can also be a way that you can dive into what are you actually feeling and really get in touch with whatever you're blocking off. It certainly helped in that way for me. So what I noticed in the longer term is that, you know, you're not gonna continue this high forever. At least I didn't, because what comes up must eventually come down, but it will go back up again too. But what happened is that I kind of had a new default. So whereas before, feelings of anxiety might be more crippling, now it's like, oh, I have a way of dealing with it. When you do the cold exposure and you do the breathing, then you're putting yourself into a stressful situation, but you're going into it voluntarily. That's the difference. So it's almost as if you put yourself in stress early in the day, and then you can deal with whatever other stress happens. It doesn't matter, whatever life situation you're dealing with. Just breathe through it, and you're there. And I just felt like I have a much calmer default feeling now. Then what I did, because I saw how amazing of an experience this was for me, is I started learning more about breath in general. And I've been reading a book called Breath, and in this book I learned a lot about nose breathing. So So another thing that I learned as a side, no, so another thing that I learned from doing the breathing as a kind of side product or a byproduct is another thing I learned kind of as a byproduct is I got interested in breathing in general, and I started to learn about mouth breathing versus nose breathing and all the benefits it has to breathe through your nose. So for example, for the past month or so, I've been using mouth tape when I sleep to promote nose breathing. I started learning actually how unhealthy it is to breathe through your mouth compared to breathing through your nose in your everyday life. I started noticing the effects it has when I, for example, jump rope or I do different exercise. What I've started doing is breathing only through my nose, and it's actually quite incredible. You have a lot more stamina, and this is one of the things that I just started diving deeper into with the Wim Hof method, so that was kind of the catalyst for me to learn even more about these things. As a last part of this video, I want to get into some tips and advice that I would give to myself, knowing what I know now if I was just getting started. So I hope it might be useful for you as well. The first thing is that it really is what you make it. So when it's new, when it's fresh, it's very easy to focus on the breathing you're doing, on being present, on being there, because it's fairly stimulating. But when you've been doing it for a month or 2 months or 3 months, then it's nothing new, and you're doing it again you're doing it again and again. So here you need to be aware of that, and you need to focus in order to be present in what you're doing. So it really is what you make it. It's the same when it comes to meditation, right? If you're doing a guided meditation, it's easier. If you're doing that same guided meditation for the 50th time, then you know all the words, your mind drifts somewhere else, right? So then you need to train yourself to keep that same focus even if you know the thing you're doing. So it really is what you make it. So during these 6 months, I've been experimenting with, different variations of the method. So one day I might do 30 breaths per round, 3 rounds, another I might do 50, 5 rounds. And what I found is that the more rounds you do, the more breaths you do, the more intense it becomes. So if you do 30 breaths and 3 rounds, it's a lot less intense than if you do 50 breaths and 5 rounds. So if you want a more intense experience, which is not necessarily better or worse, but if you want a more intense experience, then I would recommend doing more breaths and more rounds. And another thing I noticed is that the intensity that you put into it matters a lot. So if you take like a bit more shallow breaths, you'll still get something out of it. But if you really go deep and you really put your effort into, making a way first into the stomach, then to the chest, then to the head, you go, and you really put effort into it, you're really there, you're really present, then you will get a lot more out of it as well. Again, it is what you make it. The more rounds, the more intensity, the more you will get out of it, in my experience. So now let's get into a few questions and answers. The first one I have here is, how deeply should you inhale? And I recommend going as deeply as you can. You know how Wim Hof is saying it in his guided breathing. He says fully in, and really go fully, like, and then let go. Really go fully. I would highly recommend that. I think you get way more out of it if you can go full on. So the next question is how much to breathe out. And here you just let go. I've seen people who do it way too intensely, who go and basically there's no air in their lungs left, right? But you should just let go. There should still be, like a normal amount of air left in your lungs. So you go, and there's still lots of air. I can still, keep going. And then you go fully in, let go, fully in, let go. The next question is, how many breaths per round? At least 30. Do 30 to 50. You can do even more if you want to go a little crazy, but I would do at least 30 per round, and I would do at least 3 rounds. 3 to 5 rounds, 30 to 50 breaths is good for a regular basis. Then if you have a day off or something, you have extra time, then you can go a bit more intense, maybe do a longer guided breathing session or something like that. Should you time your breath holds? Well, I have timed my breath holds before. I usually don't. So how I usually do it is I do it unguided in the morning. So I don't look at my phone in the morning. I just take a cold shower, then I go do the breathing, and I don't time anything. But that said, it can be useful to time yourself every once in a while. It's kind of cool, it's kind of motivating, You can see how's your progress, how many minutes can I do. And I will also say that you will go longer and longer. I think the first time I did it, I could go about 60 to 90 seconds. But now I can do more than 3 minutes on a regular basis. So you will get better and better at this. And just time yourself once in a while if you like. But I wouldn't do it every day because it takes you away a little bit from the moment. At least that's what I found. Maybe halfway through the breath hold, I would be like, oh, I wonder how long it's been. And then I would look at my watch, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's been this long. Okay, great. Now let me hold my breath. But it just kind of takes you away, so you're not so focused on whatever's going on in your body. Should you do guided or not? In the beginning, I would definitely do guided each time until you get the hang of exactly how to do the method. After that, You can go away from it if you want, but it's completely fine to do it guided and keep doing that. I have friends who have the app who keep doing it like that. Personally, I just do it for myself, and that's how I do it, basically. Should you breathe through your nose or your mouth? So I personally do it through my mouth when I'm doing the method, but for all other breathing I use my nose. But you can also do it with your nose. I have tried it. Personally, I found it best for me with my mouth. I think I did a week or so in a row with the nose, and then I went back to doing it through my mouth. And I found that was the best for me personally, but I'd recommend that you just try both, see what feels the best for you, and follow your intuition. So how come we can hold our breaths for so long when we're doing the Wim Hof method? Well, basically what happens is that we're releasing a lot of carbon dioxide when we're doing this intense breathing. And at the same time, by doing the breath holds again and again, we're increasing our own tolerance to carbon dioxide in our blood. So the urge to breathe comes a lot later. And the last question, should I try it or not? I would highly recommend that you give it a try. It's a lot better to spend 10 minutes doing it than spending 10 minutes watching this video and learning about it. So I would say just give it a try it once, try it for a week, see how you feel afterwards. Find a guided one, find a guided Wim Hof breathing session. You can find it on YouTube or use the app. It's free, I believe, for 5 tries or something like that. So you should definitely go ahead and give it a try. And once you do, please let me know what you think. I hope this video was useful for you, and have a great day.